Chapter 2 School. Just before her 9th birthday in 1990, Megan's life changed. Doria announced that she had started Distant Treasures, a clothing and jewelry business. She would need to travel to markets across the country. Somewhat puzzled, Thomas never quite understood why Doria would be away for 3 weeks, but he didn't complain and agreed to take full responsibility for their daughter. Megan moved permanently into the large converted barn. The assertion that she lived in a cramped converted garage apartment is inaccurate. At school, Megan was known as empathetic for siding with those who were bullied or mistreated. Although she would later reveal, "I was such a ham as a child," that year she sat with her Uncle Joseph while his mother Jeanette was dying. Joseph noticed how his niece held her grandmother's hand with genuine kindness. The parents of Megan's school friends were critical to her happiness and stability. For the first 4 days of the school week, Megan usually went back to the homes of Ninanki Pretty or Susan Ardakani, another friend, until her father collected her. In both homes, she witnessed a happy family life. On Fridays, her treat was to watch Thomas Markle on the set at the ABC studios of General Hospital or Married with Children. Introduced into the world of television stars, she loved the glamour. More importantly, she loved the camera. Posing for fun in front of the lens, she became a different person. Conscious of the focus of that glistening glass upon herself, she dreamt, like many young girls in Tinseltown, of her future as a Hollywood star. Her father encouraged his daughter's dreams. Quickly, she became popular among the actors and crew, making sandwiches and getting autographs of the stars. No one would turn her down, laughed Thomas Markle about his daughter's popularity. Exposed to the adult world in the studio, Megan became aware of politics, and in particularly American feminism. By then, the 20-year campaign fronted by Betty Friedan, Andrea Dworkin, Jane Fonda, and Gloria Steinem had matured into an irreversible moment with deep roots in Hollywood. In the mid-90s, TV adverts stereotyped women. The American corporation Procter & Gamble used the tagline to promote ivory, greasy pots and pans. Megan was infuriated. Why women? Why not men? Thomas Markle knew that thousands of American women were similarly annoyed. Many had sent protests to Procter & Gamble. With her father's encouragement, Megan joined the bandwagon. She wrote to Procter & Gamble's chairman and also to Hillary Clinton, the First Lady. Like other protesters, she urged that the slogan should be changed to "People all over America." After she received no reply, Thomas wrote follow-up letters demanding that the corporation and Clinton acknowledge his daughter. Nothing happened. Using his contacts, Thomas arranged for Linda Ellerby, a host on Nickelodeon, a children's TV channel run by Lucky Duck Productions, to report Megan's protest at her school. Seeing herself interviewed on the broadcast TV film report, accompanied by a reenactment clip of her writing to Clinton, naturally boosted Megan's self-confidence. Some weeks later, Procter & Gamble bowed to the thousands of protests and changed the advertisement strapline. Although Thomas knew that Megan's letter had not influenced the executive's decision, there was no evidence that her letter was even read. He encouraged her conviction that the change was her personal victory. Retelling her story to women at the ABC studios won her popularity. They allowed her to use an office for homework. The experience would be employed by Megan as a milestone. The end of 1990 was a good time for the Markles. Through hard work, Thomas was flush with money. 26 years later, to extract a payment from an eager journalist, Tom Jr. invented the story that his father had won $750,000 in the California State Lottery. There was no lottery win, but Thomas did give Tom Jr. money to start a flower shop and bought Samantha a car. Megan's school fees were easily affordable for him. At Nikki Pretty's 9th birthday party, Megan was videoed sitting on a red blanket, wearing a gold crown and shouting with an improvised clapperboard, "Take two," directing the other girls to bow and intone to her, "Your Royal Highness." She had been influenced after watching a tape of Princess Diana's fairy tale wedding. Nikki Pretty noticed her friend's desire to be watched. Megan always wanted to be the center of attention. She took the starring role. However, compared to the family life of her friends, Megan found the tension between her parents challenging. Over the many weekends and holidays they spent together in their preteens and later, Pretty admired Megan's management of her parents in trying to keep the peace. For almost as long as I knew Megan, her parents weren't together. It could be hard for her. Sometimes she felt she had to pick sides. She was always trying to make sure each of them was happy. Pretty watched Megan, poised as a natural mediator, relay messages. It was literally stuff like, "Tell your mother," or "Tell your father." Controlling her emotions is something she learned back then. Although Megan maintained her parents' divorce caused fewer problems than expected, Ninaki recalls that sometimes one parent needed a little more attention, so Megan would devote herself to that parent. Shuttled between starkly different worlds, she increasingly came to rely on herself, but Bean, as Thomas now called her, because she loved the book Jack and the Beanstalk, could always count on his protection. Thomas's protective shield automatically went up after riots broke out in parts of Los Angeles in April 1992. Film had been released showing 4 white policemen beating Rodney King, an unarmed black motorist. After the police officers were acquitted by a jury of assault, parts of the city erupted in protest against the blatant racism of the verdict. Police sirens wailed as outraged Americans torched and looted their neighborhoods. Although the outbreaks of violence were far from their home, Thomas decided to protect Megan. During the afternoon that the ride started, he drove with her to Palm Springs. Doria had refused to join them. "I feel quite safe," she had told Thomas in a telephone conversation. There were serious doubts that Megan saw any violence, not even the minor looting in a store near the ABC studio. In her absence, the riots spread to Sunset and Hollywood boulevards. After 5 days, the curfew was lifted and they returned to Los Angeles. Megan drove past burnt-out buildings, though no homes near her home were damaged. More than 20 years later, Megan recalled a different experience. "I remember the curfew, and I remember rushing back home, and on that drive home, seeing ash fall from the sky, and smelling the smoke, and seeing it billow out of the buildings, and seeing people run out of buildings carrying bags and looting. She also saw men in the back of the van just holding guns and rifles. Equally memorable was a familiar tree outside her father's home, completely charred, and those memories don't go away." In those later years, Megan mentioned that the protests brought out the good in her community, but she must have meant her immediate community, which was predominantly white. Her version changed again in 2017. 25 years after the event, Megan would tell Vanity Fair that as the ash from street fire sifted down on suburban lawns, she exclaimed, "Oh my God, Mommy, it's snowing." "No, Flower," Doria answered. "It's not snow. Get in the house." Thomas Markle was incredulous when he read his daughter's version of those events. Megan, he insists, never saw Doria after the riots erupted. Once he had collected her from school, he drove straight to Palm Springs.